Okay, Dave Rothschild, photographer from Virginia, and welcome to episode number 2, Because Why Not? Where I take a single roll of film and I shoot the entire roll with the same theme, motif, or idea slash concept in mind. And in episode 1, we were atop parking garages. In episode 2, it's also location based. As you can see, we were in cemeteries. So I shot a few videos just to change things up, and I'm going to go through the entire roll of film, some of the highlights, and discuss what I was thinking. And for this one, I used a film I've never shot. It's called Candido 400, and it was compared to a film like Cinestill, and I thought it was similar but also different. It was much greener than I was expecting. And this first image here was, as you can see, of a trash can, and I was very struck when I first saw this overflowing trash can at a cemetery driving around. The texture on the can itself was definitely appealing to me, and just the idea that all these decorations that people brought to put on graves had become overflowing in a lot of the trash cans. This isn't the only one I shot. I shot a lot of them. And I wanted to include parts of the cemetery that didn't include tombstones. I wanted to include things like what's behind the cemetery, the landscape adjacent to the cemetery, to tell a little bit more of the full picture of the landscape. Most of this, like my first episode, is very topographic, but because we're in a cemetery, it does have a little more feeling. And again, I didn't shoot a lot of just tombstones, but this one I chose to do so because I really liked how these proud crosses were against the green background and how they glow almost. I was expecting them to glow more, but the film was a little flat. And I focused a few of the images on tree trunks, and I just like how the roots were going into the ground where a lot of these bodies are at rest. And so I thought that was an interesting thing to show. Again, the film has a very greenish tint. This is sort of like one of the more hero type shots that I shot in the roll, where I'm showing a wider view of the cemetery. And a lot of the gray tones on the tombs I was drawn to, and I was especially drawn to that tree in the center of the frame as well. And then this was a peculiar tree in that it's a beautiful tree, but there was a caution tape around it. I wasn't sure why, so I thought that was kind of interesting. I also like a lot of the color on the graves with some of the decorations, and the light, like Cinestill does as well, can look sort of red and flary in the sky. And this is one of the first images I'm showing that shows what's outside the cemetery, and in this case I'm showing like a brand new suburban neighborhood. This is actually rural Virginia, so it's a little bit of a dichotomy in that sense. But I like this image. You can see the layers from the foreground all the way up to the sky. And what struck me about this one was just this angel sort of up in the trees, glowing again like those previous crosses, and I overexposed it just a hair to get that glow, and I also used my flash on my Contax TVS. Here I made a little bit of a mistake. You can see my door of my car in the frame, but I was specifically drawn to the branch shadows on those white graves along with the red stop sign, but I'd like to be a little bit tighter here with my crop. And here we're showing what's just outside the landscape, outside the cemetery from within the cemetery, with this no parking sign and this sort of like lush vines growing against the fence. I have a few images like this that are showing, as I said, no tombstones, but just things around the cemetery or just outside of it. And this was actually the first roll of the entire frame, first frame of the entire roll, excuse me. And I love how that red light leak streak just happens to go right through those green lush leaves and that trunk of that tree, which can happen sometimes with these types of films where the remjet layer has been removed. And back to another overflowing trash can. This one caught my eye because it's layered in that you've got the trash can in the foreground, you've got a little bit of the graveyard in the background, you've got this tall tree, and then you've got the mountains in the distance, the Blue Ridge Mountains, and then a little bit of the sky. And this is probably the most detailed shot that I have, which is one of those buildings or structures within a cemetery that has some supplies in it, probably tombstones and things like that. And I just thought the decaying door was kind of ironic, being within a cemetery, and I like how the reds and the blues stood out. And then this particular one, I just thought it was a little bit messy for someone's grave. I'm sure this happens a lot, but you've got branches falling down on these sort of crooked, humble, tiny stones. The ground has got a lot of ivy and different twigs and dirt. It was kind of at the edge of the cemetery, almost like people didn't care about it. Another detail shot where I'm just showing a crap ton of dirt that they use when they dig up the graves. Just wanted to show some of that detail. There was a few others that I shot that were like this, but I only included this one. And this is, I would say, one of my favorites from the roll because it was a little ironic. There was this single gravestone right next to this beautiful tree, and then all of a sudden you just had this brand new modern house outside the cemetery. Just quiet, somebody at rest next to this old tree and this brand new house. And then here we have a pile of twigs, obviously. And I've shot images like this with some of my other work, but this was within the graveyard, so I thought it was interesting. Obviously, they're pulling up a lot of the branches from probably the grounds, and they're stacking them up, getting the grounds cleaner. This one, I wish I could tell you more about because I remember really liking what it said on the grave, but I'm recording this in one take, so I'm forgetting now what it says, but probably on a bigger screen you can actually see, or if you pause the video you can see it. I thought it was just really charming and just a sweet thing to say, and I like some of the art and drawing on the grave as well. Again, another shot where I used flash to try to light up all of that metallic trash can, light up some of those bottles inside the, I think I saw like a Coors in there as well, like a beer. Somebody was drinking a beer and they put it in there, which I thought was kind of interesting. And again, another tree focus here with the trunk, just kind of a layered shot where I'm focusing on a tree, some of the graves, and some of the graves in the background. I was just trying to get sort of like a variety of views, and again, topographic, but also just whatever caught my eye while I was there. And another edge of a cemetery where you're seeing the landscape outside the fence. I like how those fence poles are kind of crooked, leaning towards that tree. There's a little bit, I think it's a balloon or it might be a bag on the ground. And then just a little bit of that gravel road kind of breaking up the image a little bit. This is sort of like a franchise shot where as I was driving around the cemetery, that McDonald's sign caught my eye as I was turning the corner, and so I photographed sort of the layer of the tombstones, the bushes that divide the graveyard, and then you have that McDonald's sign in the background. And just, again, one of those details that just catches your eye. I just thought the crooked fence kind of falling over. I noticed that a lot of like the edges of the cemetery had some issues, upkeep issues at a variety of cemeteries that I went to, where things were kind of decaying or falling apart or were overgrown, for example. And then this was actually the first trash can that I shot. This one's in West Virginia, and I really like all the chipping paint on that trash can. The trash is on the ground, and then you have that cross on the right where it's missing half of the cross. And then you've got a wider view of the cemetery in the background. And in another one where you have a layered image within, and then on the outside of the cemetery where you have this house that's under construction. So I was just kind of again, just kind of documenting the space in this case. And another trash can that really kind of, I wasn't expecting that. So every time I saw an overflowing trash can, I shot it. And obviously in this one, the red really stood out to me. And it just really kind of contrasts beautifully with that kind of fading green of the trash can. So I used flash for that one as well. And this, I believe, might be the last shot that I'm going to share. I shot more than just these, but these are the ones that I wanted to share. And it's just a layered image showing some graves and the forest behind it. But overall, this was an interesting project. I did find it quite challenging to create work that I was super happy with. But it was a fun challenge, and I was really happy with the film. And the film really did surprise me the way it looked. It's something that I can see myself shooting in the future with some of the other work that I like to shoot. So, that's why you limit yourself. That's why you try new things like this, because you get ideas while you're out working. And I got to say that kind of since I started doing this, I'm on my third or fourth roll now. This is just the second episode where I've been doing this. You get inspiration for so many things when you're limiting yourself. Like first of all, you get yourself out of the house. You start making work. You have focus, and then you get inspired by other things you see, and then it kind of leads to, okay, I'm going to make that an idea for a future role. So it's been super rewarding. If you have any questions or thoughts on this, please leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.